Hey there, folks. Kevin Michael here. I'm wanting to talk about mushrooms because that's what I do. And if you've been looking on my page, you've seen that I've been posting different species of mushrooms like reishi and turkey tail and bear's head and lion's mane and all these things. And then, that was at the beginning. And then more recently, I've been posting, hey, look at this grain spawn that I've been making. And, or that I've been cultivating, because you don't make grain spawn really. It's the mushrooms are doing that. The fungi is doing that. But it can sound kind of eclectic, like what is spawn? What is cultivating, or not cultivating, what is colonizing? Grain spawn, wood spawn, spores. What is spores versus seeds? Are they the same? Well, yes and no. I'm going to go ahead and just cover the life cycle and try and clear up some misunderstandings that a lot of people have, because mushrooms are ephemeral. They're here and then gone one day to the next. And then a little kitten is attacking my foot. And then, it's not as straightforward as like an apple tree. You have a seed, you plant the seed, and then it grows into a tree over years and years. So you see that same tree, and then it produces apples, and then apples have apple seeds, and the seeds get planted, and they make more apple trees, and the process continues. With fungi and mushrooms, it's a little different, and so we're going to cover that. It starts with spores. Now, spores, people think it's like a seed for a mushroom. Well, yes and no. With seeds, like I said, it's one seed makes one apple tree. With spores, you have to have two spores that meet in the substrate, in the earth or the wood, or the wood or the grain or whatever it's growing in. You have to have two of them that meet, and they will go and start to produce a viable mycelia. Now, because you have tens of thousands of different genetic units within one given area, they can all combine and collectively grow through the substrate, and so that's called colonizing or colonization. And so it's colonization. Mushrooms have been doing it longer than humans have. But the fungi do it sometimes to each other's detriment, and sometimes, all in a symbiotic sense. So spores are so microscopically tiny that you can't really see them unless you have like a puffball that you step on, and then it's a little poof, and you have a cloud of the spores. And so those you can see them when they're en masse. But a single spore, you can't really see that unless you have a really strong magnifying glass. Now, if you take the cap of a mushroom, set it onto black or white paper, depending on the species of the mushroom, because the different species have different color spores, in about 12 to 18 hours, you then get what's called a spore print. I don't know if you can see that, hopefully so. But you can see the stripes of the gills, because this is from an agaricus species. And they have the long gills radiating from the central stem. And so the gills are going and dropping spores all the time. And then spores go and get caught on the wind. They get taken to the dirt or to wood or whatever they're growing on. And then they meet up and they form this colony. The mycelia then, the mycelium, will continue to grow and colonize the substrate. Now, this is a bunch of mycelia from the species of cordyceps that will eventually go and be parasitizing wasps. Right here, this is grain. This is what we call spawn, because most mushrooms will go and colonize grain, because grain has the sugars and the complex carbohydrates and the nitrogen. So most fungi will go and thrive on that. And so you start this on the grain, and then it grows into a healthy mycelia, but you can't get it to fruit and make mushrooms. Similarly with this turkey tail, this is a bit younger than the cordyceps, but the turkey tail here is not going to go and fruit off of the grain, but it will go and colonize and turn this into one, giant white puck, and then the puck then is going to be used as spawn to go and inoculate the wood chips that are necessary for the wood block to go and actually get fruit bodies of the turkey tail mushroom. Now, with mycelia, particularly the wood growing species, there's so much there's so much nutrition in the wood chips that they can live on the wood chips for months, sometimes even years, without having to get more nutrition, because there's just so much left in the wood. And so this can go, this has been here since February 23rd. It will continue to saturate the wood there. And then when the fruiting conditions are right, which is going to be whenever the temperature drops and whenever it spends more time in daylight, because right here I'm out recording the video, and yeah, they're getting some daylight, but I'm going to quickly go and put them back in the dark, and just because they're not ready to fruit yet. But when you get the oxygen exchange and the light and the right temperature and the right humidity, then you get the mushrooms. Mushrooms go and produce spores, and then those will go and start the cycle all over again. So that's just a little intro there. I'm going to be doing a series of these types of, sit here and talk about mushrooms, because, I like talking about mushrooms and fungi. So if you have any questions or any other input on this process, anything that you would like to have discussed, go ahead and let me know, and I will take that into account. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.